Hello, hello, and welcome back to my cast. This is going to be Andy, aka KSite3, bringing you another game of the Tulane versus Northwestern matchup. In the bottom left corner, we have the red Protoss player Bai from Tulane, and in the top right corner, we have Xero, the orange Protoss player. So we're now going to be seeing a PvP mirror matchup on the map Zelnaga Caverns. It's been a while since I've played, and way back in the beta days, the most popular choice was to simply just go 4-gate and 4-gate, but the recent changes in the patches made it so that 4-gates are not as effective. First one being that the warp gate technology increased. In the beta days, it was actually 40 seconds, which was like mega OP. And then over time, I believe it became 120 and then 140. And now it's 160 seconds. And then they also made it so that pylons placed over here, what would usually happen is that pylons would be placed like around here, and they would be able to warp in units onto the ramp. But they took that out as well, and so 4-gates have generally been negated pretty heavily, so Protoss players in their mirror matchups have started going for a bit more macros-oriented play. A lot of Phoenix openings, a lot of robotics openings. I'm a huge fan of robotics openings myself, and it looks like both players are looking for like little bits of proxies before scouting out their opponent. Xero is going to be making it into his opponent's space, while Bai, it looks like, is going to be sending out a pretty late scouting probe. Yeah, so not a whole lot going on right now. Xero gonna have 2 pylons powering both his gateway and his cybernetics core, and it looks like the same thing's gonna be going down for Bai. Unless you're fearing an early aggression, I'm actually a much bigger fan of spreading out your initial pylons, but that's also a bit of like personal preference. Looks like Xero is going to be skipping his first Zealot and just going for the Stalker, while Bai is going to be producing his Stalker a little bit late because he decided to go with the Zealot first. Given the fact that he sent his scout late, I'm actually a fan of building that first Zealot in case a early aggression happens to come in. And it looks like the second gateway is going to be coming out for Xero as well. Excuse me, which was scouted by Bai. So not a whole lot to take away from this. 2-gate can be obviously transitioned into a bunch of things. In fact, he can do a really late 4-gate if he really wanted to. It would be a little silly, I think, but could. He could go 2-gate Stargate into the 3rd gate. He can go 2-gate Robo. He can go like pretty much whatever he wants. And it looks like the Stalker and Zealot is going to be making a push. And it looks like Bai wants to make an early aggression attempt, or at least fake it, because I see a Nexus going down. The Zealot is going to be taken out, and this pylon should be cancelled. And I'm not really sure what the point of this pylon was, because, okay, he's not going to cancel it. Alright. Xero equipped to defend against any sort of early aggression with his 2 sentries, which means 2 force fields, and then any number of sentries he wants to warp in himself, or additional sentries once the force fields run out. This is a really interesting way to attempt to expand, but if Xero is not paying attention, then this is going to buy him a lot of time. Looks like a ping wants to be going down, and yes, there is indeed an expansion from Bai. The longer that Xero stays in his base, and the longer he just simply stays put, the bigger advantage that's going to be going to Bai. And it looks like the robotics for Bai has now completed. I would like an immortal to come out here, especially because his units are so like his army is so small. He's only got 2 stalkers and a sentry, and just now getting 2 more stalkers. And he should know that his opponent is going pretty stalker heavy, given the fact that he's forced to defend his ramp. And it looks like Xero is finally going to be moving out. Going to see that there's no army outside, so he's now free to do whatever. Most likely going to be following up with Nexus, and I would love to say that, but he decided to go Blink, which means he's most likely going to be planting a pylon of his own and attempting to and no, he is going to be taking a Nexus. Very interesting use of resources there. Bai is going to be able to get his observer in, and he is going to be spotting the unit move out. And looks like the observer is going to be taken out as well. And all this time, given the fact that Bai had control of this ramp, when he backed off, he should have left a unit at this Zelnaga tower. Now he's not really sure if there is actually a movement out of his opponent just yet until he sees this. Guardian Shield is going to be going down for Bai, but it looks like the Sentry is going to be focused down. The Immortals are not able to engage just yet, which means that the advantage is going to be going to Xero for quite a while. Some Blink Micro is going to be able to save the weakened Stalkers as well. And Bai right now really needs a bunch of Zealots rather than Stalkers himself, and Chrono boosting out his Immortals. The much better choice. Xero going to be planting down a bunch of proxy pylons, and it looks like the observer is going to be able to spot what he's up against. And the Stalkers should not be leaving this main, because now these 2 Immortals are like super vulnerable, and it looks like Xero is going to be engaging here and focusing down the Immortals as well. This is exactly why you needed to have Zealots in the front. And this is a really crucial moment. The probes are going to be pulled off instantly by Bai, so he's not going to be dying just quite yet. But he really needs to bring out some Stalkers, or I'm sorry, not Stalkers, Immortals, and fast. And he should not be looking to engage. In fact, he should be very close to his Nexus, where he can find some buffer. And it looks like the units are going to be engaging once again, and the Stalker count is going to be favoring Xero. As long as the Immortal can stay back and shoot at them, it would be good. But it looks like Bai is going to be sticking with mainly Stalkers, which I don't agree with. Stalkers obviously do bonus damage against other Stalkers, and you mainly need Zealots because you need the units to be in front of them rather than side by side, so that the Immortals can actually shoot. That, and like when you have taking his anger out on the neutral depot, the Immortals have to focus onto the Stalkers, and if he does that, it should be pretty easy to pull off. But it looks like Xero is going to be backing off. Bai should now be able to take out these proxy pylons. And it looks like a few more Zealots going to be warped in last minute before they leave the camp. Meanwhile, it looks like the expansion has now been taken by Xero, and he's going to be following this up with a single additional gateway and Templar archives, no doubt going to be used for Archons. And Bai is going to be looking to go the Colossus route. And given that he already has a bunch of Immortals on the field, I have no real problems with taking 2 Colossi. Given the fact that Xero opened up with Twilight Council, I like his choice in going for the Templar Archives as well. Looks like proxy pylon for Bai on the right side of the map, and it looks like a probe is going to be moving out to make a proxy pylon on the left side of the map. Yep, there it is. and Xero gonna be taking hold of this Zelnaga watchtower. Like I said, when he finished engaging over here and saw that he couldn't kill Bai right away, and he left, it's a good idea to take hold of the Zelnaga tower. Vision is very, very important, and it looks like this single stalker is going to be looking at what Bai has in store. Going to be taking a quick peek before he blinks out of there. And it looks like Bai is getting pretty adventurous with these proxy pylons. And a probe is going to be coming in. An Archon has warped in for Xero as well, and he's going to be looking to take out the rocks of the gold. And it looks like a single Colossus has now popped out, as well as the range coming in very, very soon, as well as the second Colossus, and Bai is most likely going to be making a timing attack once his second Colossus comes out. Looks like the proxy pylon is going to be taken out by Xero, and Xero has now revealed that he also has charge on his zealots, which can actually work in the favor of Bai. If he lets his opponent's zealots charge up front, and then he creates a wall of force fields so that the stalkers can't get in, then the Colossi can just simply melt away all the zealots that are right in front of him, and then the stalkers can't do anything because they're force fielded out, unless they decide to blink in, which is also really bad for him because Bai also has a bunch of immortals that would take them out very, very quickly. But meanwhile, we have Xero taking his third base at the gold, while Bai is going to be taking out the backdoor rocks, presumably to get a third of his own. And it looks like Bai is going to be able to spot any sort of expansions that go on besides the gold, mostly because these proxy pylons are going to be able to spot if and when expansions go down. And it looks like the observer is going to get spotted, and once again taken out by Xero. Gotta be careful with those observers, man. Observers are so kind of... let's see. If you open Colossi, you generally have like 1 or 2 observers, and you want to keep your robotics producing Colossi. So if you get your observers taken out, that's like 40 seconds, I believe, of production time that you can't be building a Colossus, which sucks. Xero now going to be grabbing Colossi of his own, and I do not like this from him because, I mean, like, you already chose the tech path of Blink Stalkers and Charge Slots, which means the natural response would be to follow it up with Archons, and if it goes into the super late game, then you can think about getting Colossi or Air, but this is like, you're mixing way too much tech. I mean, like, the tech to get like Archons costs so much gas, and the tech in order to get Colossus costs so much gas, and like you're not gonna have enough of both, especially if you decide to go with range. Meanwhile, we have a Stargate out of Bai, as well as a Fleet Beacon. If I get to see carriers in this game, that'd be pretty awesome. But yeah, I mean, like, Xero should have gone with Archons and attacked probably like a minute or 2 ago, before the Colossus count from Bai gets a little too high. Since Bai started his Colossus production way before Xero did, he's going to have a pretty big Colossus advantage, which means that like in the world of PvP, you know, the person with more Colossi generally wins. So right now we have 3 Colossi with 1 Archon versus 6 Colossi from Bai, and like, I mean, this should be like a super easy victory for Bai, because I mean, like, he's got mass zealots, which, you know, die like pretty much instantly to mass Colossi, and then yeah, but the engagement is actually going to be favoring Xero over here, so that could turn the tide to his favor, but it looks like he's going to be backing out, so once again, not a huge deal. And it looks like we have a mothership coming from player Bai. and additional colossi are still streaming in. If he adds this one as well as this one, that's about to pop out. I believe that's going to be 8 colossi versus 5. And it looks like Xero does have an upgrade advantage, but I mean, like, the sheer number of colossi is just like way too many to ignore. And it looks like Bai is going to be leaving this Colossus behind for duty, I guess. Basically forgetting about it, but looks like the Observer of Xero now going to be taken out, and players are just losing their observers a bit too recklessly, in my opinion. And it looks like the expansion of Xero is going to be spotted instantly and going to be warping in some zealots, and it looks like zealots of Xero are going to be coming in as well. And it looks like we're going to have a engagement. Once again, due to these rocks, the advantage is going to be going to Xero, and it looks like Xero actually had a lot more units than I anticipated. So it looks like Bai's Colossi are all going to be going down, and Bai is now going to be calling the GG. So game number 4 is going to be going to, once again, Northwestern, and I will see you for game number 5. And that is so sad. The mothership was going to spawn in about 2 seconds.